Hi, welcome to GS Steamer's Kitchen. My name is Tom Waite, and this evening for you I'm going to prepare a garlic and herb encrusted New York strip. This evening for you I'm going to prepare a garlic and herb encrusted New York strip, topped with a lobster Bearnaise and rosemary roasted potatoes. There's a few key things to remember when picking out a New York strip, or any steak for that matter. You're going to want to look for the marbling. Some people may say, you know, that's fat and everything. But what that's going to do is that's going to melt down, and that's what makes the steak nice and juicy and tender. So to make the crust, I have some fresh oregano, some fresh rosemary, and some fresh thyme. Now you want to use fresh herbs, because if you use the dry herbs, when you're searing it off in the pan, they can burn and it'll actually make the crust bitter. So we're going to use fresh herbs. We're going to use a little extra virgin olive oil, and then of course some minced garlic. And then we're going to use a little pepper, a little salt, and then we're going to use some panko breadcrumbs. Now with these panko breadcrumbs, it's going to act as a binder, and it's going to make this into like a paste so it sticks to the steak and makes it nice and crispy on the outside. So we're just going to whisk this all together. Okay, and then we're going to take our steak and we're just going to push it in there so it sticks to the crust. Now you want to make sure you get a lot on there, because when we cook it in the pan we may lose some for it to stick in. Okay, so see how it's nice and covered all the way over. And now we're going to go to our cast iron skillet. Alright, so we have our steak nice and crusted. I have a hot cast iron skillet, and with a little oil in there. You don't want to deep fry it, so we just want enough oil to coat the pan. And you don't want it too hot, because virgin olive oil is not good. So we're just going to put the steak in, and we're going to let it sear. Now, the reason that searing the steak is so important is because when you sear the outside, it locks them juices in there, and you don't want it, because sometimes you might get a dry steak, and the reason is because it wasn't properly seared. So we're just going to sear that outside really nice. Alright, so once we get a nice golden brown crust on there, we're going to flip it. And because the reason I mentioned earlier can happen with fresh herbs too, to where if they burn, they actually turn very bitter, and that wouldn't be so good. So we're going to do the same thing to the other side, and then we're going to throw it into a 400-degree oven to finish cooking. We got both sides are nice and brown and seared off. We're going to finish it right in the oven. Alright, so it's been about 8 minutes in the oven. So we got a nice sear on this steak there, and it's kept searing in the oven, and we didn't burn our herbs, which that's the most important, because like I said, we don't want bitter herbs on our steak. So we're going to take that, and we're going to take it out of the pan. Now, the most important thing when cooking a steak is you got to let it, it's called carryover cooking. Those juices that we seared on the inside when we put it in the pan, they're all dispersed throughout the meat. So we need to let it sit for about 1 to 2 minutes to let those juices go back to where they are. Because if we just cut this right now, for one, it'd be undercooked, and also we'd lose all the juices, and that's where all the flavor is. So we're going to get the rest of our plate going while that continues. So as I said, we're going to do with a lobster Bearnaise. So that I have a hollandaise here, and instead of showing you how to do a hollandaise with the egg yolks, because it can be a difficult sauce to make, I would recommend that you go to your local grocery store and they make mixes, and then maybe we can, down the road, I'll show you how to actually make a Bearnaise. So to make a Bearnaise, we start with a hollandaise, and right here I have it's shallots, red wine, white wine, garlic, a little salt and pepper, white vinegar, and tarragon. And what you do is you reduce that down to make a tarragon reduction, and that's what actually is a Bearnaise when you add that to a hollandaise. So we're going to add that there, and we're going to mix it in. Now we just turned our hollandaise into a Bearnaise. Alright, so as I mentioned, we did it with a little rosemary, roasted potatoes. Now this is just red potatoes, and then you cut them up and you do a little oil, salt, pepper, rosemary. I put a little of that fresh thyme and oregano in there, but you can season it with whatever you like, whatever flavors that you prefer. So we're going to take our potatoes and we're going to put them in the middle of the plate. Okay? Like so. And the poor veg, and I mean this you can change out with whatever you guys like, whether you like broccoli, Brussels sprouts. But tonight I just sauteed some green beans in a little unsalted butter with some garlic. I added salt, a little pepper for a nice little flavor, and I think green beans go really good with a steak. So we're going to put those up in the corner because we want to make it look nice. Okay? So now we have our potatoes in the middle with our green beans. We're going to take just a little bit of the Bearnaise we made and we're going to put it down on the plate and then just smear it with our spoon. And what this is going to do, this is when we plate it, and in restaurants when you have to carry it to your table, we want the food to look the way that we did it by the time it arrives to your table. So we have a little bit down there. We're going to take our cooked lobster meat. Now you can do this with shrimp, scallops, oysters, whatever you prefer, or if you're not a big shellfish or seafood fan, don't add it at all. But tonight we're going to add the lobster meat. We're just going to mix it in there. Okay, so now our steak should be ready to go. So this is important. You want a sharp knife here too, because you don't want to tear the meat. You actually just want to, you know, slice it like you're cutting through butter. Okay, so we're going to take our strip. We're just going to cut it down. And we're just going to cut that fat at the end because nobody really wants to eat that. Okay? So we have our steak. Now we're just going to take our knife, slide it under. We're going to layer it on the potatoes, but then we're also going to fan it out so you can see that it's nice cooked. You know, nice medium rare medium, but like I said, if you like your steaks well done, just leave it in the oven for an extra 5 minutes. Or if you like them rare, just take them out, you know, a few minutes before that. So we have that. Let's get rid of this. So then we're going to take, now we have our lobster added to this, to our Bearnaise. You know, and you just need a little bit of this because this is, you know, it's made with egg yolks and clarified butter, so you know it is a strong sauce. And we're just going to put it just like that on the plate, and then we're going to wipe it up so it looks nice whenever it gets out to the dining room. And there you go. You have an herb encrusted New York strip steak with a lobster Bearnaise served with roasted rosemary, potatoes, and sauteed green beans as a veg. It's very easy to make at the house. It should please any steak lover you have in your family, whether it's, you know, friends or family for a cookout. They'll think you went to culinary school. You know, if this looks too difficult to do, come on in. I'll be glad to make it for you. Like I said, my name's Tom, and we're actually running this as a special on Wednesday night, and we hope to see you there. Thank you.